Hello, this is Chiak. We are back again with another set of Gabriel Knight Sins of a Father, where Gabriel fell asleep at a lecture. Is there anything else we can look at? Not really.
Are you a student?
No.
Nope.
My name is Knight. Gabriel Knight.
Well, you've already interrupted and slept through my lecture, Mr. Knight. I hope you have something worthwhile to do here. If you figure it out, let me know.
Do you know what caprice encore means?
Caprice encore? Yes, I do. It's a Haitian term, I believe. It's French, and literally translates as goat without horns.
As in a female goat?
No, as in a human sacrifice. Sacrifices in Voodoo are usually of the animal variety. Chickens, bulls, goats. If the gods demand a goat without horns, it means a human being.
Great. We're gonna have to talk to him.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
You already sat through my lecture on the subject, Mr. Knight. Perhaps next time you could stay awake and learn something.
Okay, well, we're gonna
What
get
do you
through
know
the rest
about
of
the
this.
voodoo murders?
I've read about them in the papers. I must admit to some interest. But according to the newspapers, the voodoo aspect is faked, so I haven't really pursued it. You know how Americans, especially Hollywood, treat voodoo. I'm sure there are many so-called practitioners out there that have no idea what they're doing or the power they're playing with.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
I find it interesting to see the occasional fragment of voodoo practices in the everyday culture of New Orleans.
What else can you tell me about New Orleans?
The Catholic Church has always dominated in New Orleans, and its imagery, in turn, has dominated New Orleans voodoo.
What else can you tell me about New Orleans?
If there's more you wish to know, perhaps you should read my books.
Do you know anything about snakes?
I'm not a zoologist, Mr. Knight, but I know all I care to about reptiles.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It's June 23rd, the feast day of St. John the Baptist. But June 23rd has been a sacred day since the earliest times. Ancient sun worshippers used to roll a flaming wheel down a hill to celebrate the sun's descent on that day.
A burning wheel. Huh. What was that translation for caprice encore again?
Go with
It's
that.
French.
Okay. We can move on.
Do you know
from
anything
that.
about Marie Laveau?
While I find the colloquial bastardizations of voodoo somewhat interesting, from a sheerly intellectual point of view, there's not a lot of relation between people like Laveau and true voodoo practices.
Okay.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
As I said in my lecture, which I assume you actually listened to, is that animal masks, totems, are used extensively in most African voodoo religions.
Do you know anything about veves?
If you'd taken notes during my lecture, you wouldn't have to ask.
Tell me about Damballa.
Damballa is one of the major Rada Loa, also known as Damballa Wedo. He is an ancient Dahomean rain god, often represented as a large boa constrictor. Damballa is the most powerful and most violent of the Rada Loa. The Rada Loa are typically benevolent, as opposed, say, to the Patro Loa. He is still worshipped heavily in Haiti, and when voodoo first started in New Orleans, the early conclaves were reportedly based on the worship of the great zombie, the great serpent Damballa. I have extensive courses in the Loa running next semester. Perhaps you should take one of those, Mr. Knight.
I double-clicked. I didn't mean to do that.
Tell me about Ogun Badagry.
Ogun Badagry is one of the Patroloa. The Patroloa are much more violent than the Radaloa. Some people believe the Patroloa originated in Haiti, but I have found some evidence that the Patroloa were African as well, though worshipped only by a small voodoo tribe, and a very bloody one.
Tell me more about Ogun Badagry.
He is a chief nasty, Mr. Knight. He is the spirit of war and destruction.
Tell me about yourself.
All right, Mr. Knight. I'm 35, a fully tenured professor at this university, as well as a fellow at Cambridge. My doctorate was obtained at Syracuse. Yes, Syracuse, in religious studies. I'm an agnostic, but I find human belief systems fascinating. I specialize in African religions because I grew up there. My father was a Protestant missionary. And I am heterosexual, when I practice sex at all, which isn't very often. Any other questions?
Wait.
Oh, no.
I wasn't
Fine.
expecting that last part.
I'd really like to know more about you.
There have been several articles written about me, Mr. Knight, as well as blurbs on my book jackets. If you want a biography, read.
Okay.
Tell me more about human sacrifice.
It's very rare. Most voodoo practices do not include human sacrifice as a matter of record, but it is theoretically possible, if that's what the gods demand. For example, one of the chants I had translated for me from a Haitian ritual went like this. Mistress Ezuli, come and aid us. If a cock is demanded, we will give it. If a bull will suffice, behold it. But if a goat without horns is required for sacrifice, oh, where will we find one? Ezuli is the gentlest of Loire, so they call on her for mercy. But I have seen grown and powerful Houngan tremble before possession by one of the more violent Loire, such as Papa Nebo. Clearly, they are afraid that something of the sort will be ordered, or that Loire will simply take it for themselves.
Tell me more about human sacrifice.
I wouldn't dwell on it. Most voodoo sects probably haven't seen a human sacrifice for several generations.
Your lecture was terrific.
Oh, you think so? You were snoring so loud I didn't think you'd heard it.
You must travel a lot.
Yes, to Africa mainly.
I'm very interested in voodoo myself right now.
How nice for you.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming there's no reason for us to go to his office.
The door to Hartridge's office is locked.
Is he
I'll be
gonna come
going.
in
Oh,
later?
do keep in touch.
Are you one of the murderers? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay. But now we know what the goat without horns means, so we need to... Gotta get cleaned up here,
All
Gabriel.
right, but this is private.
Maybe this will be the last time you'll have to do this. I know what Kabri Sanko means. I probably said that terribly wrong.
Yes? Who is it?
It's Father McLaughlin back again, don't you know?
Yes, Father. Come on in. Please be seated, Father.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions, madam?
If you wish, Father.
Okay.
That Caprice Encore thing.
Do not continue to tease me, Father. You know what it means as well as I.
It means goat without horns.
Father, you surprised me. You do know what it means. You know what they mean by goat without horns, don't you? A human being. That's right. Slit your throat, cut out your heart. Pure evil murder.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Vevis?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
No, Father. I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Do you know anything about human sacrifice here in New Orleans?
Well, my great-grandma there could tell stories. She saw it. People say that sort of thing wasn't done in New Orleans, but the real voodoo queens did it. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Who are the real voodoo queens?
Well, my great-grandmother told me that Lavaux was just a front, a flamboyant decoy. She distracted authorities from the real voodoo queen of New Orleans. It's been the same one for almost 200 years. She's head of a secret voodoo enfant. That's what they call their temples, you know. It's so secret, most of the voodoo people in the city don't even know about it. The real voodoo queen controlled Lavaux, gave her a little bit of power, and used her like a puppet.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She was only a front for the real evildoers, father. And that's the truth about Marie Laveau.
Okay, that's...
Can you tell me anything else about human sacrifice?
What is to tell? They cut your heart out.
Is there anything else you can remember about the real voodoo queen?
Well, my great-grandmother said the real voodoo queen was the most beautiful woman on earth. She had the most incredible copper-colored skin.
Is there anything else you can remember about the real voodoo queen?
Well, they're all brides of Satan. Other than that, I can't think of anything.
Tell me more about this secret voodoo hound for.
Well, I've never seen it. I wouldn't go near it if you paid me. But it's here in New Orleans, I guarantee it. I hear their drums at night, oh yes. That's why I'm so ill, I tell you, those drums. But we shouldn't talk about it. They'll hear us. It's the devil's work that happens there, I can tell you. I'll show you something. Something secret. You mustn't tell anyone, Father.
I swear on my collar.
Here it is, mon père. A true object of evil if ever there was one.
It radiates something, all right.
It belonged to my great-grandmother. She told my mother that it was a token to gain entrance to the real voodoo ceremonies.
You don't say.
To tell you the truth, I've always felt nervous about having it in the house. You know, evil influence and all.
I can see how you would, yes.
And yet, I could never part with it. It's been in the family for generations. Would you bless it for me, Father? I feel strange asking such a thing of you, but surely you understand.
Bless this bracelet of a snake. Even though its vibes aren't great, let it do nobody harm when they wear it on their arm. Voodoo spirits, go away. Don't come back another day. And now let us pray.
Okay.
It's a bracelet in the shape of a snake.
Is there anything more to this?
There's no point in using that on... Gabriel has a thought about the clay.
Bless, oh bless this circlet of silver. Take the curse, oh take it, Wilbur.
A lovely blessing, mon père.
Yes, I think it made a lasting impression. Here you go.
I feel so much better now.
Tell me more about this secret voodoo hound for.
I told you we shouldn't talk about it.
Okay. That is it. We got the bracelet mold here. So I'm just gonna leave now. Oh, sorry, I double clicked again. Double clicked. I don't need to double click. I am trying to escape very quickly, but we don't need to double click. Okay, so how do we go about this then? Definitely done with her. But,
I knew you'd miss me, so I came back.
Casanova.
Really? I forgot you were gone.
Okay, any research things I need to...
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Ugh, no. Makes my skin crawl, though.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
No, sorry.
Do you know anything about veves?
Not a clue. Sorry.
Ritual patterns used in voodoo.
Fascinating. I can't help you out, though.
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndfall?
In New Orleans?
I think so.
No, I don't, but it sounds dangerous. You're not gonna try to find this voodoo group yourself, are you?
Would I do that?
Yes?
Do you have messages for me?
I've given everything to you.
Do you have
Oh, shoot,
Nope,
sorry.
none right now.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
Okay. So let's leave. I guess maybe I head to the Voodoo Museum.
Hello, Dr. John.
Glad you could return to us, Mr. Knight.
Does this mean anything to you?
I cannot say that it does.
Okay.
Could I ask
Talking
you some more
points.
questions?
Of course. I also find our dialogue stimulating.
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndfall?
Don't be ridiculous, Mr. Knight. The voodoo churches in the city have no need for secrecy.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
Of course. It is one of the Loa.
What can you tell me about the Loa Damballa?
Damballa is a snake Loa. It originated in Africa, and is also worshipped heavily in Haiti, I believe.
Do you worship Damballa?
Mr. Knight, in voodoo, all of the Loa are given their due respect.
What else can you tell me about the Loa Damballa?
I am afraid I have little else to say about that subject.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
I do not believe so.
Isn't he one of the Loa?
Perhaps. I am not familiar with some of the more obscure Haitian and African Loa.
Are you sure you don't know anything about Ogun Badagri?
Quite sure, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about veves?
I believe they have something to do with Haitian voodoo. But that is not really my area.
Do you know anything else about veves?
I am afraid I have little else to say about that subject.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself.
What more can I tell you?
Do you know Malia Getty?
Should I?
She referred me to your museum.
Many have read about our museum in the newspapers, Mr. Knight.
That's a good point. Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then let us discuss something else.
Okay.
Gabriel doesn't want any...
Shrine, whip, wishing stump.
That doesn't seem to...
Yeah, I don't imagine. I don't imagine it would. We still got the brick.
Walk carefully out there, Mr. Knight.
Again, I gotta stop double clicking when I'm leaving out. We can talk to this guy again because
Hi.
again with the flirty hi. Oh, what?
Can I ask you just a few more questions?
Whatever, man.
I found out what Cabri Sankal means. How did you know about human sacrifice?
I never said them words, monsieur. You must have heard them from someone else.
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndfall?
There's no such thing. Not around here.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Don't talk like that around here, man.
Okay.
Do you know anything about veves?
Like the ones in the voodoo rituals they do for the tourists.
Right.
They curiosities, no? This a curio shop.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Have you ever heard of Damballa?
Damballa is an African legend about a great serpent. Folklore, that's all.
Would you take 50 for Willie Jr.?
Don't insult me, monsieur. The price is $120.
What? You see?
You misheard me.
Okay. Well, at least he doesn't bring a thing back up.
So, this is a voodoo store, huh?
Voodoo? No, man. This a curio shop. The things you see here are from local folklore. None of it real, I tell you for sure.
What about all these magic oils and powders you're selling? Aren't they a part of voodoo?
Read the label, man. We make no claims. Sold as curio only. It mean what it say, no? These are novelties, not voodoo.
I was hoping we can get something out of that, but... okay. Okay, oh boy, there's a lot more to read. Oh wow, these are all our notes. I'm not sure if I want to read this. Yeah, this is all the new stuff. Okay, so this is like if we need to go back over all the information that we were giving during the lecture. Never letting anyone tell me I've got an ego without pointing them to this Professor Hartridge guy. Damn, he doesn't think the murders are real. Guess who doesn't know everything? Guess who doesn't know everything all after all, buddy? I'd love to prove him wrong. Okay. Either way, day 3. Did you make an impression, Casino? Have you seen Mali today? Did you talk to Professor Hartridge and give him something to research? Oh, I have to give him something to research. Have you found out what... Did you get Mark? Okay, I already... So the only thing I have left is to give him something to research with this guy.
Can you tell me anything about this?
No, I'm afraid I can't.
Okay. But he'll want this, right?
Can you tell me anything about this?
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. Mind if I copy this?
Be my guest.
Great. I'll be right back. Here you go. You know, this is a fascinating veve. You must tell me all about its origin.
Actually, I was hoping you'd tell me. Can you figure out anything about it from the symbols?
Well, some. That's why I wanted a copy. I want to research the design myself.
Have you heard of the Voodoo Murders?
No. You're kidding. Really? Then the voodoo is authentic. The newspapers are wrong. Boy, are they wrong.
You think this veve is authentic?
Authentic? Mr. Knight, that's like asking if the Mona Lisa is a painting. Tell you what, I'll look into these symbols myself and see what I can learn about the sect that made this. I'll give you a call when I have more information. You are associated with the police, aren't you?
Absolutely. But I'm undercover. You can contact me at St. George's Bookshop in the court.
All right.
Is he gonna believe
now,
that?
I'd like to get started on this, if you don't mind.
Okay, and with that, we're gonna exit.
It's getting late.
Yeah, there we
Gabriel
go.
decides to go home for the day.
It's the last thing I need to do. Alright, Grace. Oh. Oh.
Excuse me. I'm going inside.
Oh, I'm afraid St. George's is closed for the day.
I'm not a customer. I'm here to see the owner.
Why don't you just leave your name and number with me, and I'll tell him you stopped by?
Listen, if Gabriel is here, he'll want to see me. Is he? Here?
I really couldn't say for certain, but in the morning...
Gracie, say goodnight. You came. I didn't think you would.
I didn't think I would either.
Your eyes. I could show you around a little. It's not much, but...
Please don't. I couldn't focus on much of anything right now.
Yeah, I know. God, what is it about you?
Just shut up and kiss me.
Okay, wow, really is the fastest moving romance ever. It's been like, what, a day since they first met? Alright, day 4. I spoke to one who smelled of death. He gave to me his ears, and crosses that were marked were made into a veil of tears. What was that? Interaction is just like very quiet. She keeps looking over. Was she always doing that? Looking over, just... Guys, want to talk about it?
You're not speaking to me this morning?
Don't be silly. I just have nothing to say.
Have it your way.
Okay. Whoa, what there's
Have you noticed
dude.
this guy outside the shop?
Yeah, he gives me the creeps. I wish he'd go away.
Did you find out anything about that pattern I gave you?
Yeah, I did find something. I checked the microfiche at the public library. I found an article about a murder in 1810. The newspaper published part of a pattern found around the body. It looks damn close.
You're incredible. All that work.
Forget it.
Okay. Right. Today's newspaper reading is...
Times dated June 21st, 1993. Gabriel's eye is immediately drawn to an article about the Voodoo Murders. He scans it quickly.
I don't believe this. They've closed the case.
What case?
The Voodoo Murders case. The paper says that the police have learned that the murders were a result of an underworld cartel war, and that the war is over.
That's not good?
It's ridiculous. And what about the killers? And the voodoo angle, they never got anything on that.
I know you were into it, Gabriel, but if it's over, that's hardly a negative. Anyway, if you're that upset, why don't you talk it over with your pal Mosley?
You don't get it, Grace. Just forget it, okay?
Gabriel decides to check his horoscope, despite his disgust. Death walks close to you today. Resist temptation lest his eye fall on you, too.
Peachy.
Gabriel also spots an ad for Sam Springleton, a jeweler.
Oh.
Sam hangs out at the Napoleon House.
The so-called Voodoo Murders are over at last, says Detective Franklin Mosley of the New Orleans Police Department. Our investigation has turned up that these murders were the result of an underworld drug cartel war, said Mosley at a press conference yesterday evening. That war has now ended, and the people of this great city are safe again. The police say they are doubling efforts to crack down on the underworld drug trade that briefly turned the New Orleans into its private battleground. Okay, so if I exit the map, the This guy's just standing here all day. It took me a while to realize he was just there.
I'm out of here. Try not to sell out the store while I'm gone.
Uh-huh.
Nope, nothing. Okay. Napoleon House. Well, it's right by, so let's...
Hey,
The drummer looks at Gabriel but says nothing in return.
Okay, I was hoping there'd be something, but...
Knight, hate to tell you this, but you're out of a book. The Voodoo Murders case has been closed.
I had a feeling you were gonna say that. Son of a bitch.
What's with the music?
I have to tell you, bud, I'm pretty pissed off about this case being closed. You guys are making a big mistake.
Hey, I'm not any happier about it than you are, Knight, but I've got my orders.
Oh, so they just higher-ups wanted the case closed.
Do you
But
know
then if
anything
more
about
bodies turned up,
veves?
that's not gonna help.
What?
Veves. They're ritualistic patterns used in voodoo. You know, like those marks we found around the body.
You know what the department says about that, Knight? That voodoo stuff is faked.
Yeah, well, they're wrong. These veves...
Look, just stop worrying about those marks. I don't think they're relevant.
Oh, so is the case closed if they don't know, if they don't have, like, the actual perpetrator arrested? Can you really call that the case being closed? I don't know. How does this work?
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
You mean gumbo?
No, I mean Damballa.
Never heard of it.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
But he's not gonna know.
Come on. Somebody's pulling your leg, Knight.
Are you sure?
Ain't nothing secret about voodoo in New Orleans. There's a museum, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but that's the stuff they want you to see.
You're getting mighty paranoid, Knight.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
I told you, you're nuts. Drop it.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Say what?
Ogun Badagri. It's a voodoo Loa.
Speak English or shut up, Knight.
Sorry, didn't mean to confuse you. Guess I'll take that as a no. Tell me about yourself.
What do you want to talk about that for now? We're not doing the book anymore. Besides, you already know too much about me, Knight.
What's the status on the Voodoo Murders case?
The case? What case? I told you, the Voodoo Murders case is closed.
How can you just close it? It's not solved, is it?
Oh, it's solved. Turns out the Chicago Mafia was trying to invade local territory. Use the Mississippi for drug running now that Florida's so hot. What we had here was a little resistance from the local businessmen. Word came in this morning that the Chicago group is giving up and pulling out of Nolans.
But that doesn't bring the killers to justice.
Well, the boys upstairs seem to figure it this way. Let the slime kill each other. Better the vermin we know than Chicago vermin, I guess. The attitude in the department is that we just been done a huge favor, and they're probably right.
What about the local cartel? Are you just gonna let them go?
At least they're part of us. We'll deal with them over time. Always have. Nolans is pretty clean that way, you know?
Well, that's the illusion, isn't it?
Look, I'm not totally in agreement here either. But what can I do? These guys are not about to get caught. I'm disappointed about the book, too. Look, next big murder case I get, I'll call you in, and we'll do that one up right, okay? In fact, I could probably dig up some old cases, and you could spice them up.
No thanks.
It's okay. So here's the thing about the that line of logic about the like. So are all the out of towners what from Chicago? Are they all basically being implied as being in part of the cartel? Are the families going to be really appreciative of that of them just saying that? Like, I don't know if that stacks up at all.
How can I convince you to reopen the case?
Look, the department's not interested.
So, couldn't you make them interested?
With what? I got 7 bodies and still no leads. The voodoo angle's worthless, and besides, these people aren't hurting anybody but out-of-town drug dealers and hitmen.
The voodoo stuff is not worthless. It's the key to the whole thing. And these people are dangerous. They need to be stopped.
Okay, you want me to reopen this case? Prove what you just said.
What do you mean?
You need to prove that there's a legitimate voodoo cult in Narland. Prove that they're a threat. Get me a lead on the cult.
How can I convince you?
I already... Prove that there's a...
Okay.
Prove that they're
Okay.
a threat. Get me a lead.
I'm not gonna insult him. Is this gonna mean anything?
You know those marks you found around the murder victims? This is a reconstruction of the whole pattern.
What makes you think this is an accurate reconstruction?
Well, I borrowed the partial patterns from your police file and did my own tracing of the pattern at Lake Pontchartrain. An architectural artist reconstructed it for me from the partials.
Really? So this is the whole pattern, huh? That's pretty good work, Knight, but that doesn't prove that this pattern is really connected to voodoo.
Okay. Well, we need to leave then. It sounds like he's just silently
Well, I'll
getting
be
up.
seeing you.
Disappointment.
Have a good one.
And dude up there is still... Oh, interesting. You're not... Oh, no. Okay. I was about to say, it's not doing the teleporting thing, but... Okay, we need to head to the Napoleon place to get the... I'm sorry, is this the... Man, this drum guy is everywhere!
A street drummer has found a spot outside the Napoleon House.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Sure. I'm not too busy at the moment.
Boy, there's a lot here. Okay.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Greatest city in the world. I never want to live anywhere else.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
This city must get about 1 million tourists a year, especially around Mardi Gras.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
A lot of people come here because they think it's mysterious. All that talk about voodoo.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
You should probably find a book on the subject, you know?
He's like, why do you keep asking me?
What's
Stop
the
it.
significance of St. John's Eve?
All I know is it's some kind of voodoo holiday.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
People who believe in that stuff think it's a real special night. Magical.
Do you know anything about snakes?
What about them?
No, just anything.
You ask the weirdest questions. I don't know anything about snakes.
Have you ever heard of Marie Laveau?
Sure. She's kind of the patron saint of voodoo in Narland. Don't know too much about her, but the tourists sure get off on all that stuff.
Have you ever heard of Marie Laveau?
There's a voodoo museum in town. They'd know more about it than I do.
It's weird, like, this is highlighted, but everything else is kind of like, okay, fine.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? Don't believe in it myself. I invented a drink once called Laveau's Tomb, but it wasn't very popular. Some people do believe, though. Even some of our regulars here at Napoleon House.
Why.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
It's all over the papers. Some kind of serial killings.
Well,
what do you know
apparently.
about the Voodoo Murders?
They say a lot of voodoo stuff is found near the bodies.
Okay, so you're not...
What do you know
you
about
got
the
updated
Voodoo
information.
Murders?
Everybody's talking about them. It's starting to scare off the tourists.
Considering it was about killing
Do you know
outsiders?
anything about
Understandable.
animal masks?
Come Mardi Gras, you see all kinds of masks in here.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
Black voodoo? No, I prefer not to think about that kind of stuff, personally. Crime, perversion, weirdos. Just makes me depressed.
Does the name Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
Never heard of it.
Have you ever heard of Damballa?
Never heard of it.
Okay, this guy.
Can you tell me anything about a secret voodoo hound fall?
Are you kidding? Around here? Hope they aren't serving drinks.
Yeah, if they are, I don't think anyone in his right mind would want one.
Okay, we're just gonna...
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
See those old guys at the chess table? That's Sam and Marcus. They've played there every day for 20 years. Sam, the one with the purple jacket, he's lost every one of those games. It's not that he's a bad player. I've seen him beat guys twice as good as Marcus. But Marcus has Sam so psyched out, he loses his nerve every time. By the way, Sam, the chess player, he's into that voodoo stuff. He's always talking about spells and gree-gree and such.
Really? Thanks. So what has Sam told you about voodoo?
Well, about 50 years ago, Sam was too shy to talk to this pretty girl he was in love with. He went to a voodoo-ien and had her make him a love charm. It was a little pouch that he had to bury under the girl's front porch. Well, he buried the pouch, and the next day he went up and talked to the girl. And sure enough, she didn't reject him. Now she's his wife, poor guy.
Poor guy.
So what has Sam told you about voodoo?
That's about all I can remember.
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
This crowd? The ones you see are mostly regulars. That guy and girl in the corner come here a lot. When they're not fighting, they're all over each other. In other words, they're in love.
Okay, anything else?
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
I'd call you a regular, Gabe. And one of our local writer celebrities, too. Been coming in here, what, 10 years now?
Oh, don't remind me.
We're still waiting for that bestseller.
Oh my god.
Don't hold your breath.
No pressure. Thanks. No pressure, man.
Tell me about the street musicians around here.
I like music as much as the next guy, but they get pretty monotonous sometimes, you know? Like that drummer right outside. They say there's been a drummer outside Napolean House since the day it opened. Now, I like drums, but this character really gets on my nerves. It sounds like the same thing over and over. I just want to say enough already.
Sounds like my life. Tell me about the street musicians around here.
Don't know what else I could say.
Okay.
What can you tell me about your regulars in here?
That's about all I can say about this crowd.
Okay.
Does the phrase Capri Sanko mean anything to you?
Never heard of it.
I'm just trying to get rid of
Tell me
things
about
here.
yourself.
A good bartender listens to other people's life stories without telling his own.
Oh, that's that's all he's got to say. What do you want to chat about?
How's it going?
It's been worse.
I feel like this
Business
should
picking
start
up?
the conversation.
Some, mostly locals, as usual.
You ever get tired of tending bar for a living?
Never thought much about doing anything else.
The weather's pretty crappy out there today.
I wouldn't know. I never get out of here before dark.
Oh my god, how long have you
This
working
looks like
here?
a lively crowd.
Like hours.
Lively crowds are trouble. These guys just sit and drink. That makes me happy.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to end the set here. But yeah, so we're gonna be having to talk to these guys. So, unhappy man. I don't know about because something about the jeweler. Maybe I was thinking some other place. Either way, thank you for liking if you liked. Thank you for commenting if you commented. Thank you for subscribing if you subscribed. Thank you for simply clicking on this video. Until next time, guys. See ya!